Welcome back to Responsibly Unhinged. Jesus. Responsibly Unhinged. It's your host, Kylie Kaiser.
And Quinn Collins.
I just fucking woke up, so I have no idea what's going on.
I'm not wearing pants.
You're not wearing pants? Oh, I can't even see your legs. It's crazy. Ah! I am actually blaming everything that happened today. I think I have sun poisoning. Did you see my story of my feet? And how bad? You probably...
Oh, your Chacos with your Choco tan?
I am so
What
burnt.
did you do?
We went on the river all day yesterday for Kevin's birthday. But, like, if you could see my legs right now, it's literally a travesty. Like, I look like a zebra. I don't know what happened. I think I just put my spray on really bad. But it was, I was wearing those type of shoes. Like, it was bad. And all my legs look like that. Like, literally, it's my whole... Look at, like, if I just pull this up even a little bit. Oh, it's starting to fade now, thank God. You can kind of see it. Look at that.
I've never floated the river because I know that I'll perish.
Oh, the one ginger girl went with us, and she brought her own umbrella for the whole thing.
Oh, you'd have to.
Yeah. But anyways, other than that, I'm good. I'm in a lot of pain. Literally everything hurts wearing clothes. But, you know, it was fun.
Ugh.
Yeah.
How was New Faces last night?
It was.
How was that?
It was good. We were a little panicked early. Again, just, you know how it goes. Pre-sales suck, and then day of, everyone buys their fucking tickets and just puts producers into a panic. Wasn't huge, but we had we ended up with like 40-something people, so it was still good. Yeah.
Sunset was kind of the same way last night, but I served, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. We had a lot of good people on, and it was a good time. Yeah, we ended up with a much more full room than I was anticipating that morning, so... I was barking my ass off Friday night and challenging men to pool, and if they lost, I had made them buy tickets. So
that's smart.
It was, yeah. Honestly, I kind of took one from you about how you just sit at the Driscoll.
Yeah.
I do way better if I go in and actually like speak to people than if I'm just trying to hand people flyers on the street like a homeless person. They don't want to fuck with you.
Because it's one of those things where it's like, especially when you're like. People, you're talking to me like, oh yeah, I do stand up. They're just curious about like what you do, and like they're we're looking for something to do. It's so much easier to like small talk, bark.
Yeah, well, because then they like know you as a person.
Yeah,
and they're interested,
and they're like, oh, I like when I'm talking to somebody about stand up, and they're like, tell me a joke.
Oh,
and I'm like, suck me for free. Yeah. Come to the show.
Same.
Here's the ticket link,
I'm
asshole.
always like, buy a ticket. My favorite thing that's been happening lately when people ask me about it, it happened whenever I was with Justine and giving people, I didn't like bark, but we took those flyers out before we went to our show that we're going to talk about. That happened then, and then it happened this Friday too, where I'll be like, I have this show, blah, blah, and they're like, you're on it? And I'm like, yeah. And then they say, are you funny? And I was like, no, I'm just shamelessly giving you a flyer to come to my show so you can see how fucking bad I am.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I always say, no.
Yeah. Somebody on it might be. Couldn't be me.
Yeah. I always say, and people are like, are you funny? And I just go, I think like some people might say that, but I would never say that about you.
Fair.
Do people say you're funny and not just looking?
Right. Yeah. But speaking of shows, we did have our first Unhinged comedy show last week. Was that God Time is Fake? Was that last week?
Yeah, that was last week.
Okay, a week and a half ago, or something like that. Last week, I guess. Yeah, like 9 days ago. I don't know.
Time is going. This is like, I don't know why. If it's because my Saturn is in retrograde, whatever the fuck. But it's like I've never experienced a year where time was moving so slow and so fast at the same time. Maybe I just have more bills than I've ever had in my life.
That is probably why. That's how it feels for me. But we did do it.
We did it, and it had a fun turnout.
It was a fucking blast. We did it at the Velveeta Room, Unhinged Comedy. We had some of our pals on that crushed. But it was just a fun environment. I got a lot of feedback from people about it being, like, different than a normal show and, like, the vibe of it. It was pure chaos.
I didn't realize how many people my mom barked in from her work.
That's hilarious. Is that what some of those random people were?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
My mom does hospitality for HEB. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but... And she was like walking around because she has like check in with like all of like the sections of how are you, like whatever. And she's like literally barked people in.
That's so funny.
So shout out Beth.
Yeah, and some of our friends showed out and we appreciate that. But yeah, it was truly unhinged chaos.
My mom, I went to HEB to pick her up and like had to get some stuff anyway. And I looked like absolute ass. I went running, and then because I was like, I'd worked all day that morning, and she's like, there's this one girl, I think it's one of her managers, and she's like, she loves you, she watches the podcast, shout out. Yeah. And I literally look like a gremlin drowned rat, and I look 12 and 37 at the same time, like type of rough looking, like brutal. And my mom goes, "Do you want to meet her? Like she thinks you're so." I'm like,
No.
"Don't do that to me."
Dude. Oh, I should shout out. I'm going to make sure I don't fuck the name up. But we have a fan that I ran into at a comedy show the other weekend who literally brought our show poster for me to sign and said he's looking for, wants Quinn to sign it too. Sweet guy. Said he saw me at a show a few weeks back or like a few months back and started listening to our podcast and is huge fans of us both and goes to a bunch of comedy shows in the scene now because of comics we've shown him on the podcast.
Oh, wow.
Sweet guy. And he brought literally our poster to be signed. If I'm going to fuck this name up, but I think it's Rashab. But sweetheart.
I think he's come to Sunset before.
Yeah, and he printed it and he's moving to California in a couple weeks and he was hoping to get
I thought he just moved
signatures.
here from California.
He just moved and he has to go back. So he was telling me about it.
What the fuck?
I know, but he was like, he brought that and he's like, I want to have it signed before I have to leave Austin by you both. And I thought I almost cried, honestly. That was so sweet.
That is so nice.
Shout out to you and, everybody else that listens to us when we forget that we're not just talking about dumb shit into a microphone sometimes.
He came up to me at Sunset when I had been serving and he was like, he asked me, he was, "Are you Quinn?" And I was like, fuck, am I in trouble? God. Because sometimes when I'm serving, I kind of talk to people crazy.
Yeah, that's fair. So do I.
Because it's fun sometimes. It's because they're going to ask me a dumb question. I'm going to have fun with it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I hope I wasn't like rude to him or something. And then I was the opposite. But I was like, that's very nice. He said he comes to a lot of the New Faces shows.
Yeah. And I was at one of Destiny Lillian's shows whenever he came up and she's like, I've seen him here. He's always been nice. And because sometimes when people are doing that, you're like, are they stalking me? He's not. He just really loves comedy and he found out about a lot of the scene.
One thing I've just discovered that people do because I was eavesdropping, as I have an addiction to that.
Yeah.
But I was listening to these like girls, which in the bathroom at Sunset, and they said that they do this thing if they are somewhere where their phone isn't locked up. Because I forget, I think it was Joe Begley that was on there that they were talking about it.
Awesome.
But they do this thing where they look up the guy on Instagram, while he's up there or after, and they see if he has a podcast or like something, and they always go up to him and they're like, "I listen to this. It's so funny.
That's so
funny. It's so cool that I see you because I know about your podcast." And they didn't. I'm like,
that's hilarious.
If it was one of those things where
you know what, I'll take the lie.
Yeah, it was one of those things that if you didn't have to have like a gun to my head to fuck another comic, I would so do that.
Yeah.
If I wasn't a comic, like if I was a chuckle fucker, I would be pulling all of the
Is that
tricks.
a French comedian fucker? Is that what that one is?
Yeah. It just makes it. I just like. I love the chuckle fuckers.
Yeah.
They're always so nice to me.
Yeah.
They're always they're like and they do like comedy. Like you're not fucking a man with no bed frame or savings account because for the the love of the game.
No.
Or I guess for that just like the love of the game. But they're always so sweet to me. They're so nice to me. They always include me cuz like I love a chuckle fucker.
Yeah.
So I want to say it classier because I like them.
I keep joking and telling my boyfriend he's a chuckle fucker now. Oh yeah, that's news by the way.
Yeah, Kylie has a boyfriend.
I have a boyfriend.
Ew. Kylie has a boyfriend.
Hey, I know to this long-standing podcast audience, no one's more surprised than you or me. But yeah, it's good. Happy.
He's 4'11".
He is not. He's 6'3", actually. Yeah. No, it's crazy. People, someone's being nice to me. What a new thing for me.
I do not. So.
Yeah, but if anyone can do it, I did it. So it's a shock to all.
Oh my gosh, this is unrelated. Wednesday on the one I was on, and I was like talking about like valuing being single, like all this stuff. She broke up with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
I got tattoos.
And she did say she was going to do that, and good for her.
Yeah, she got like she went right to the tattoo shop.
As she should.
That's what I like to do too. I was just explaining that to somebody the other day. I was like, most of my tattoos I got when I was in a very like bad place.
I only have one, and I was in a bad place, and I haven't gotten any since because I threw up.
Fair.
I'd love to be a tattooed baddie. Could you imagine me with a sleeve?
I want a quarter sleeve bad.
But I can't.
Yeah, it's
They
fair.
scare me. Also, one time when I was like 15, this girl, and I know I would never do this. I don't know why it steeps in my brain like a tea packet. But this girl, I grew up going to a mega church, as we know. And I remember this girl's testimony was like she got her first tattoo when she was like 17. and like loved the needle, so she started doing heroin.
Wow. That's they talk about gateway drugs. That's a I've never heard of a gateway needle quite
So
like
I was
that.
so scared of getting tattoos because I was scared I'd do heroin.
That's wild. That's never happened to me, but that's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's your fault that happened. I think that, you probably just clicked something that somebody was already thinking about in her mind about that. I was thinking about that. I saw your text about that this morning. 10 minutes ago when I was pulling into this place. And I was like thinking about it. And I was like, it makes a lot of sense, but this is interesting for me where I was like, maybe this is just my own problematic codependency. But I'm like, excluding the fact that I almost missed this podcast today, I was like, when I'm in a relationship, I'm like locked in. Like I haven't went to an afters. I haven't done anything in like 2 months almost. And I'm like, I just like have been focused. All my shit's like, I edited all of our last podcast stuff so much earlier. Like I was like, I'm like taking better care of myself when I'm, I don't know, maybe getting laid consistently. I don't know if that's what it is.
No, I think that like makes sense. Because sometimes it just like itches your brain in a way that's like,
Yeah.
it
It also depends on who you're dating. Like he's,
he's
very
also
supportive.
very healthy.
Yeah, he's supportive. Like he likes to come to the shows. He likes to go to open mics. Red flag. Not a comedian. So.
But yeah, no, he's also like he's in general like a healthy person.
Yeah, overall. Sometimes you gotta get yourself a divorced baddie. What did you say to me? I told Quinn I was dating someone that's divorced, and she said, it just lets you know to never give up hope that the man of your dreams might leave his wife.
No, never let your wife stop you from finding the love of your life.
Yeah.
But I
hope she doesn't listen to this.
But yeah, and I don't know. It's like also, I think when like dating too, it's like, I don't know, like especially if you're with someone who's supportive of stand up, and like especially when they're not in stand up, because like that's like you're kind of like two options is someone who's a comic or not a comic. Oh, I thought that was anyway. But it's like when you're dating someone, support is like such an important thing on both ends, because if you're dating someone who's a comic, it's kind of this weird competitive nature.
Can be, yeah.
And I've like tried to like talk to other comics because I'm like, I mean, the stars align and we have the same schedule, and like something good will start happening for me, or if like I'll be doing more for them or than them, and it's like always this like shady thing about me being a girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh well, I mean, they need a girl for the show.
Well, and you can know that because the male comics have done this thing, which I'm going to kill all of you. So just take this as your warning. Whenever my boyfriend has come with me to the open mic the one at Roscoe's that I like picked the New Faces spots from. He's sat with me there twice now, but the first time he came with me, again, he's not a comedian. He did not get on that stage. I was hosting and doing the whole thing. 3 different male comics came up and thanked him for hosting.
That was so nice of Peter to do that.
Oh, we're going to name drop him. I guess I don't know the protocol on this. I've always kept it anonymous because I'm talking shit. But, but now if I come around and have to talk shit about it, I want to be like, that was Pierre.
Pierre.
So I apparently say his name wrong because like 3 different people have asked me whenever I've introduced him. They've been like, is it Peter or Pierre? And
Do you not tag him when you post things?
He doesn't have social media. I know. It's also kind of great for me.
He doesn't have any?
No, he used to have a Snapchat.
Oh.
Yeah, used to, but none. Which this is crazy because my other long-term relationship didn't have Instagram or social media or anything either. But all he did was make me feel bad about doing it. So and he doesn't. He doesn't. So that's good. He's not like pretentious about it. He just like doesn't care.
Some people just don't like it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was like, he's not like one of the like my ex was like very just like always bitching about it and complaining about it and all that stuff. And I was just like, you're not cool just because you don't do this. Like,
yeah, that's how I've dated a couple of guys like briefly that weren't about social media. But sometimes not him because he's an angel.
Well,
for now. But sometimes when there's guys like there's been 2 guys I've talked to that aren't on social media at all, and like there's something inherently kind of scary evil about them because their reasons for always having
that's how my ex was evil.
Yeah, and their reasons when they're like, oh, I'm a middle, and because when they always want to brag, and they've never not somehow in the time of when we're talking dropped that they've cheated on their girlfriend.
Oh yeah. And I found out too, like the girl, longtime podcast listeners that I had on here, that was my ex's other ex, we kind of had this conversation about this. And I was like, especially for him, he was like a raging narcissist. I was like, if he's not on social media, it makes it harder for other girls to go have happen what happened with that situation, right? Like they can't like look up your shit. It's easier for them to cheat. It's also like then they can't go reach out to your other like victims and find out information. Like they can't find anything on you because like a narcissist's worst fear is being exposed.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Because I've noticed that where I'm like, it's also interesting because I'm crazy, but it's like both of these people, like both these dudes I've talked to that don't do social media at all, if you Google them, their home address comes up immediately.
We didn't say any names.
And their phone number.
Crazy.
I paid for a background check for nothing on one of them.
Yeah. Peter was a fake name, by the way.
Yeah. But like, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
When guys are like so anti social media, it's usually because there's something like, I like when a man has social media.
You're like, I'm gonna find out worse information about you than if you just had an Instagram.
He has one photo from 2019 with one of his friends. You can't really tell if he's even in it.
Yeah.
Follows, I don't know, 400 people, has 38 followers.
Yeah.
That's my ideal man with it.
Well, yeah.
I don't care about social media.
Well, you know he's not gonna have too many stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it's when a man's like, oh, I don't care about social media, and he has like the most inactive account that he doesn't post, but he like watches people's stuff, but keeps up that way.
Yeah.
I trust that way more than a man. It's like, oh, I can't touch, like, because to me, like when they're like, oh, I can't touch social media. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have Instagram. I don't have Facebook. I don't have.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Yeah, with him, I was like, it was like one of my things at the beginning that I was kind of like, it was like triggering because of that. And then I just felt he was just like he doesn't literally ever talk about it. And like if people send him stuff, he'll like click the links. He like watches the reels or TikToks or whatever else. I was just like, okay. And also he like runs a business. So I think part of it is he's like, I don't want to be distracted and stuff. So
it is a distracting thing.
Yeah, but I love it. I love when it's in a healthy way because you guys may not know this, am very annoying on Instagram.
Me too.
And so having somebody who's not seeing all that, also for my psyche, like when I think about situationships, when they don't have it, it goes with, I can't go look for their views in my story. It's like the out of sight, out of mind thing is way easier. They're not like popping up. I don't have to worry about like, am I going to block or mute them? It's like, I can move on faster if you just disappear.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So it has some benefits.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Where you're like, yeah.
Yeah. What else is new with you?
Nothing. I quit my day job.
I was about to say, you got a new job. I didn't know if that was redacted information yet or not.
It might be. I don't know. Because here's the thing that's stressing me out is I'm very excited about it. The opening date for it, because it's a new restaurant. Well, not new, but it got pushed back with like the stuff. So it's like the training week, I'm in Tennessee.
Oh, shit.
But I told them
when are you going to Tennessee? I'm going next week. We were missing this or I'm going in 2 days. We are missing this by so small.
I leave I leave in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm leaving in 2 days. I'm going to Nashville for like 4 days.
I leave.
I don't know if we've talked about this even.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
For like a wedding?
No. I'm gonna go see Katie. Then her and her boyfriend and Peter's going with me, and then we're going with like a group and going to see Halsey because me and Katie always go see Halsey together.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna show them around Nashville and stuff. So.
Okay, sick.
Do some shows. I am doing some shows.
I'm going to Tennessee to get Adderall, but
Period.
But yeah, I'll be. But that'll be. Well, and I have to go to a couple specialty doctors in general because you can't get a specialty doctor and like I can't get a specialty doctor for my ADHD that's raging. I have to go to my like gyno there, and
oh yeah, I feel like we talked about that on the podcast that you were wanting to do that. Should we share your big news? You're feeling way better.
I got my birth control out.
Yeah,
I got the rod out of my arm. I didn't realize how much it was like just genuinely ruining my life.
Yeah,
but now I need to actually because there's no issue with getting my yearly at Planned Parenthood, but it's just I have a specialty doctor.
Right.
And I just need to get some blood work done.
Yeah. It's always good to do after you come off. I mean, you're going in a couple weeks, this isn't bad, but I would get another doctor here just from, not to dive into all the shit that we used to do, but I'm sure Justine's talked to you about this too. Like 3 months or so is a good time to see like if it's where your stuff's leveling out, because you still have a lot of the hormone in you probably. But yeah, it's crazy. A lot of people. Well, and it's nice that you're feeling better already, because some people it's like it gets really bad first and then they feel better, and it could be a bell curve. You never know. But just be prepared for that. But it's a good sign that you're already like noticing that you feel better.
Oh my God, it's like I've not really changed anything. Immediately lost 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
crazy.
it's inflammation, all kinds of shit like that. Also, it's like we're all always so shocked by this, as if we're not. I'm putting foreign objects and chemicals into my body, and I'm not expecting it to do anything.
Piece of rubber in my arm for 3 years.
Yeah, and we're like, huh, weird that would.
And like, it was funny when I went and got it taken out, and the nurse was like, "So what's your reason for getting like it removed?" Because I guess they have to ask you that. And I was like, "I don't get laid. Like I don't. To have something this invasive in my body when like
You're not even doing it. Yeah.
I'm not. It doesn't need to be that serious. Because when I first got it in, I had a boyfriend.
The catch-22 is it was also making you not want to get laid.
Yeah,
That's a bad downside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like I don't really know why I have this. It was just like making me bloated all the time. I felt like I was like the brain fog.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. And like I said, she's talked to you about it a bunch when she was here. Poor Kara. Kara Goss, shout out, still RD out there, one of the best in the game. But that girl's been on a nightmare journey since she got off hers. And but that's not everybody's story, you know what I mean? But it's like it's just her progesterone's been tanked for ages because of it. And she was on it for a very fucking long time.
She was telling me.
Yeah, and that's how that's again the flip side of that. I was on it for 13 years. I came off and I was like you, I felt better. I didn't have a single fucking problem. I have pretty like bad cycle stuff now.
Were you on the pill?
I was on the actual Satan's creation Depo-Provera for a little while. The shot.
Yeah, Depo.
I was on that for like 4 or 5 years, and then I was on the pill for like 9. But I didn't have really anything. Now I have a bunch of issues with that. Has to do with a lot of bodybuilding drugs I was doing. And the birth control thing. It's like I came off in 2018, and it was just like I instantly felt better. I lost a bunch of weight.
Did she start having issues like immediately?
Pretty soon. She didn't get a period back for like forever, and she still has had trouble keeping a period. That's pretty much.
I got mine like 2 days after I got it out. Like,
yeah.
But I think my body was like begging me to be off of it.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting because like we live in the just like beautiful country of Texas. So when I moved here, I was single out of a when I first got it, I was single, and I immediately got a boyfriend like 2 weeks after I got it. But
yeah.
But I was just like, Roe versus Wade had just gotten overturned. I was single, and it was like, I don't know, you just hear like nightmare stories and shit like that. And like just in general, I didn't want to have to worry, and I'd always been pretty not anti-birth control, but I was in a 5-year relationship, and I was never on it.
Yeah.
And it was like good communication with that person. He was like, I don't want you to have to put that in your body if you don't want to. But then I was like, I don't know. I just got freaked out so bad with all the Texas legislation.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
I've thought about getting back on it, and I am pretty anti-birth control. I'm not anti-birth control if you needed a contraceptive. I'm anti-birth control processes of how they give to anybody for anything that they don't need to be doing. And people
because I remember I'm very thankful. I have a mom who's always advocated for me medically.
That's great.
I know like some moms can be overbearing, but I remember when I was 15, I had like the worst acne ever. I've been on Accutane, like,
and they put people on birth control for that shit.
Yeah. And my mom was always
You're
like,
a teenager.
My mom was like, no, like she's, and like I remember like the doctor kind of like got mad at her.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. It sucks for women.
Because I was under 18, so it was like, but my mom was like, and I remember like she was like, she's not going on birth control, and like one of her friends, and fuck this friend forever, but like her mom was like, her friend took it as like my mom being like over policing of my life, and she was like, I just feel like you're policing her life, and she should be on birth control. Like they don't tell us everything, and for sure I didn't tell my mom everything when I was in high school. Like my mom doesn't know why I am traumatized by the sight of the Chevy Silverado, but she always advocated for me when it came to birth control, because I know a lot of moms are just like, okay, because they don't want it out of sight, out of mind. But my mom was always like, if you are sexually active, we'll have that conversation.
Yeah, which that's how I got on it at 15. I waited, and they were suggesting it to me because I've had bad cycle stuff even then. So I knew coming off it that me getting it again, birth control probably didn't help, but like I had it before that. And again, people don't realize when you first start as a teenager, it's supposed to be bad for a little while. Your body's figuring out how it's going to work going through puberty. So, but like they'll just be like, oh, you have bad periods, get on birth control. And so they kind of had already talked to me about it, and I was like, no. And then when I had sex with my boyfriend in high school, I like I mean, my mom had me at 17, obviously. So I had like a panic attack. I was like, I'm instantly pregnant. Like I had sex one time. Like I was like, I'm pregnant. And so I like went and told her about it. And then I was like, I want to be on birth control. So that was like, my decision then about contraceptive
my
reasons.
boss is in her like mid-30s. She's the same age as Justine. And she was saying she's been on birth control. She was like 14 or 15.
Oh yeah, I got on.
And
at
this is
15.
her first year of her life. She's not been on birth control.
Yeah, it was 15 to 27 or maybe 26, something like that, which is
yeah.
crazy.
I mean, it was only 3 years for me.
Yeah, so that probably helps.
And never
a lot
again.
Too. Yeah. Well, I'm curious. Have you heard about how a lot of times when you get off birth control, your type changes?
I'm really curious.
Do you
about
think that you're not going to want redheads or whip it guys anymore?
God. Oh, I can't wait to like be off birth control and never let a man that does whippets nut in me. That's gonna be a beautiful.
That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yeah, I wish I could blame that I was off birth control, but I've made some of my worst decisions since I got off birth control. So maybe that means my real type is worse than when I was.
I do
kind of
feel like I've been in heat.
Yeah,
I haven't done anything.
a feral
yet.
cat.
I'm still nervous to do anything.
Yeah, you're kind of like how my cat just walks around and like rubs her butt on stuff. She's not doing anything. She's
Well,
just
it's
thinking
kind of
about
like one of those things where in my in my head, it's like you when you're like you actually have like enough money to get something like you really want, and it's like I've never like had like I haven't had the money before to like actually spend it on something. So you're so picky about which one you're gonna get, like a car. You finally have money to get a nice car. Like I'm not just gonna leave with the first nice car on the lot now that I actually can ride it, you know?
Yeah. And that's where you're better than me in a lot of ways, because I would just be like, yeah, we can drive whatever.
Not me. If it's like the first time
I
I'm
can
like,
afford it, we're getting in it.
I just got my license unsuspended and I'd like to drive the Bronco, please.
Please.
No
that.
more 2003 Honda Accords for the Quinstar, you know?
Well, congratulations. No birth control. I got a boyfriend. We're thriving. I'm responsibly unhinged.
Thriving.
That's what I just knew. That would be the most misleading clickbait all the time. The title of this episode is just a boyfriend and no birth control.
Yeah.
That's the topics. Not together, but
In heat.
I am also not on birth control. But we're gonna do this a little backwards. We are doing a little shorter episode here. One, because it's just the two of us, and two, because I was fucking late. So we're gonna end on our silly chats moments. How about that? It's 2:45.
What time is it right now?
2:45.
I'll be there at 3:30. Doesn't matter.
You're okay?
Yeah, fuck it.
All right. Well, we should do this anyway, so we won't. Maybe we'll still keep yapping to you, but we're gonna draw some cards. We don't have to explain it to each other, but if anyone listening has not heard of Selly Chats, you can find this card game at letsselly.com. It is a conversation starter game. So essentially, this game helps you get deep with your friends. It's a way to ask questions deeper than just like the normal small talk bullshit that me and Quinn say on every episode we really hate. And you can draw them. They come in all these little different fun packs. They are definitely oriented for the girls, but they have made some packs for like dating and things like that too, which is super cool. So you can play them with men. We've played them with men on here. They get really sweet about it. You know, we just had some big old sweetie pies on here.
Yeah, men love when you ask them a question. They're like,
yeah,
fuck.
And, you could just use this to find out if the guy's an asshole or not. Because if he really gets that angry about having to answer something as simple as, like, where did you grow up?
Yeah.
Like, what's something you love? What do we have to ask Brent? What's something you loved about your hometown or something? If a man's like, fuck! Like, he has anger
I like
issues.
to take the Selly Chat card after I've gone through his following on Instagram. And then I take the card and I hold it like this. And I go, who is Sarah Jackson?
And
he's
crazy
like,
that
doesn't
it
say
says
that. I'm
this.
like, yes, it does.
Do you remember the first time we did this when I read it and I was like, oh my God, it says that. Oh, and you believe me.
Yeah, I go, yeah, who is Sarah Jackson? She has this many followers, says she lives in Austin. And he's like, the card doesn't say that. You know, and that's why I'm missing one card in my box because I ate it.
Yeah. I like to draw the card out and you can just make it as, so you have to like phrase it in that way. So, you can draw it out and you can just ask them, what would you do if hypothetically your girlfriend went through every text in your phone and asked you a question about it? Just like, how would you feel about that?
Yeah.
And see what he says.
Yeah. Pick his brain.
After you've already done it, It's okay.
Just pick
It's
his
all right.
noodle.
But if you would like to try any of this terrible behavior that we're suggesting, you can get your own pack at letsselly.com. Use the code unhinged for 20% off.
Gorge.
You want to draw one?
Yeah.
Sally's going to reach out to us and be like, we weren't trying to market our thing to psychopaths, but it's kind of working. Honestly, I think that's your best move. If you want people to... It's on the other side. Is it upside down? if you want people to buy your product, market it to women being able to get revenge, you know? There we go. It's actually a beautiful little pack, but we are stupid, so.
Share a city or a place you've traveled to that left a lasting impression. Why does it hold a special place in your heart?
Ooh, I like
It's
this.
Austin. It's Austin. I came and visited Austin when I was 18 because I was in a organization called DECA, and I just fell in love with the city. And to me, I knew that it was about to be a thriving, like, tech hub. At the time, like, DECA is like for marketing and entrepreneurship, and I was like, I could see myself doing something here one day. And then I got a boyfriend as soon as I went to college. And then we did like a cross country trip. I just really, really wanted to come back to Austin. And this is in 2020. And I just remember being like, there's just something about this place that like, I feel like there's something for me here. And then we broke up and this is where I was drawn to go. And I feel like this is the coolest place I've ever been. And it's been the place that's broken my heart the most. It's been the place that's made me like become somebody else, but in a way that like I never thought I was allowed to be.
Yeah.
Because I never would have grown this much in Knoxville. I never would have been this outgoing if I stayed in Knoxville or in a relationship. So I think Austin is like kind of the loneliest place I've ever been, but it's like also I needed that to feel like I was good enough to do scary things.
Yeah.
Like Austin made me do scary things and maybe a drinking problem. But
What? In this city? Crazy.
no, but yeah, it's always going to be Austin.
Yeah, fuck yeah. You know, it's really not to be super gay about this, but when you texted me about having to be somewhere at 3 and you actually said I have to be someone at 3, kind of wraps up the Austin experience, doesn't it?
I have to be someone at
I
3.
have to be someone at 3, you know? And that's Austin. You can just be somebody wherever you need to be. No, Austin would definitely be, it's my second answer, I would say. I feel very similarly about it. I came down here to visit a lot, and then I started coming down here like 2 or 3 times a year before I moved here, and I was just very drawn to it. And that was before I was even doing stand-up, and maybe that was all just like fucking premonition of what's to come or something. But I definitely also kind of like ran away to here and had to go through some fucked up shit here and be alone, and it was cool. But my number one place for this is Wilmington, North Carolina. That's my spot.
Ooh.
So I have the coordinates tattooed on my ribs of a street there.
So the Vampire Diaries?
No, it was One Tree Hill that brought me there, but I'm not ashamed.
Same show.
Yeah, it's not, but they are both great.
One of them has a girl or someone named Quinn.
One Tree Hill.
Work.
I always tell you because I always want to call you Quinn James because that's her name. But yeah, that's it. I started going there as a fan, and but I also like met a lot of friends through that show and did things like that. And then one of my best friends, her and I started just taking trips there like every year together because I love the city. I brought my ex-boyfriend there, like totally unrelated to the show stuff. Now, like I still go geek out over that, but now I just like I love the little water town, and it's so cool. It's where I want to retire. It's just people there are nice, and it's just like that's like my peaceful place. Like when I think about it, it's like my little have a photo of it hanging in my house, and one day I'll live there kind of a spot. It just brings me a lot of joy. Actually, my best friend and I that we met through the show and go to that together. We have the coordinates together.
That's pretty sick.
So that's pretty cool.
Should we do another one?
Yeah.
Oh my God. What is something about your life that the 18-year-old version of you would be proud of? That I moved to Austin.
Yeah.
Like,
This
that's
is the Austin
crazy.
theme thing.
I think 18-year-old me had such a different vision of my life that was always kind of pouring into like what other people wanted of me a bit, but like also this kind of wild child thing. But I had no idea who I was or like what I really wanted to be. It was just like, you know, I went to college because people like I was told I had to go to college. But I think 18-year-old me would be like really proud of like just doing scary things and like going to it like a city that I just remember like, oh, this is such a cool place, but I could never live here. And you know, I'll you know go to school, I'll get married, I'll you know live that life like the East Tennessee dream. I think it's it's like I said, it's like a lonely thing, but I think 18-year-old me would be so proud of that. I just did something scary. Like I was fearless about something.
Yeah.
Because when I was really little, I was like super fearless. I was the kid that like, you know, I was always in the ER. Like I wasn't afraid to say how I felt.
Some
and
things
then,
never change.
Yeah. But then there was this wave of like, I would say 16 to 24, where I was just like very cautious of things. I just, I was scared of what everyone thought of me. I was like kind of like poured into like completely bled into everything my boyfriend wanted to do and who he was and his friends, which I'm thankful for, because I think that's the only reason I graduated college, because he was so type A and good at everything.
Yeah.
So very thankful for that, but I had no sense of self.
Yeah.
I felt a little bit like at SeaWorld when they show the pictures of the orcas, because sometimes they don't know that their life is kind of sad, but their fin is broken. And I feel like I moved to Austin and my fin came back up.
We make a lot of aquatic animal references on this podcast. We have a whole dolphin episode. This one's about the orcas.
And the good thing is they come so easy. We don't have to fish for them.
You know what I love about Quinn Collins is that when you start saying something, I literally never have any idea where it's going to go.
I know. Everything.
It's my
I've said it
favorite thing
before.
about
I'll
you.
say it again. Everything that comes out of my mouth is also a surprise to me.
Yeah. You started saying, it's like SeaWorld, and I said, this could go literally anywhere right now. And you know what? Well, who was it that we had? I think Liz, when she was on, was talking about that, and she was like, every time it comes out, and I'm like, what the fuck is she talking about? But it somehow still makes sense every time, and that pisses me off.
Well, because that's the other thing about when you put animals in captivity, they start like lashing out to to their caretaker, and I feel like I was being always like kind of mean to my boyfriend, because I just didn't want to be with him.
Yeah. You also tend to lash out the most on the people closest to you because they're the ones that like are still going to be there. That happens a lot too.
Yeah, well, I guess in my head blamed him for like being like,
yeah, that's fair.
I gotta run.
Yeah,
I need to be free.
Yeah, it's funny because
this stallion needs to leave the medical school friend group.
She needs to find some comedians to hang out with instead. Yeah, that's funny because my very first tattoo I ever got says "Be Fearless." Unfortunately, it's way too close to my vagina for anyone's comfort, but that was not by choice. That was an accident.
How do you accidentally
I never told my first tattoo story on here.
No.
I have "Be Fearless" that it's supposed to be on my hip, okay? First of all, it looks like shit. Every E in it, there's a lot of E's in
How old
"Be
were you?
Fearless." I was 20 or 21. And every E looks different. It goes literally thick to thin, the whole font does. And I had never gotten one before, so when I went to this like cheap ass tattoo shop one of my friends got one at. They knew it was my first tattoo, and I didn't really know the process at all. So I got it, I picked my font, but I had no idea that they like stencil your tattoos normally first. This guy didn't. He just free-handed this fucking tattoo.
Where'd you get it?
Like in Ohio. I don't know where the fuck it was. I know it's very Ohio. And I literally, but like I remember like they like shaved the spot, and I remember him like shaving like this huge area really like pretty close to my vagina, and I was like, this is weird. Maybe it's just because I didn't even know the reason. I was just like, I guess that's what he has to do. And when he started like had the gun in already, I'm like, aren't we putting this on my hip? And he was like, that's your hip, and just kept tattooing me. So it's like, it's not like on it, but it's like the S in Fearless is starting to get to that top of your pubic bone, you know what I mean? So now I've had to explain to every man that goes down on me why they should be fearless before they do that. It's not great. It's not great. Luckily, most of them, they can't read.
Perfect.
So, but I do relate to outside of the fearless thing. My 18-year-old self, I think, would be proud of like a similar kind of thing of just like the risks that I take now. Like I wanted to go to college. I always knew that I would and things like that. But I wanted to be a writer, like, which is again kind of full circle now. It's not the same thing, but I was like, that's what I was good at. I was good at English in school, the AP classes. That's what I wanted to do. I love to read. I love to write.
And masters or whatever.
Yeah, like I ended up doing that, but it's like that whole journey was so weird because it was like I used to write, like I had published poems in junior high and stuff like that, and I wanted to be like a short story writer or like an author. Like that's what I thought I was gonna do, was like write books and shit. But it was like I was afraid to take like that kind of dream risk, you know. And it was like I was like, oh, what can I do that's gonna actually like make money? And so I just like went into a teaching degree because I was like, if I like English, what else am I gonna do with it? And I think like now my 18-year-old self would be really proud that it's like I could have that same approach to being like, oh, what, you really think you're gonna be a comedian? And now I'm just like, why the fuck not? Like, you know, and who knows? Like, who knows? I could have been on the fucking New York Times best-selling list if I just had that kind of shit now, if I would have just started writing, you know?
You can still do that.
I could, you know? Actually, the Venn diagram is a circle for female comedians who have put out books.
Yeah.
So I would love to do that. then my 18-year-old self would be even more proud. Do one more. Is there a book or a podcast that has recently brought more joy to your life? Well, you see, Responsibly Unhinged is
this one.
super good. Actually, I'll answer that one. Two things. One, the Fourth Wing series brought a lot of joy to my life because I was a big Harry Potter nerd, and this is the closest thing to that kind of joy I've ever felt. Even though I bought the third one a month ago and have not opened it. But podcast-wise, I wouldn't say recently, but that just feels like a full circle still thing with like, because I mean, I didn't talk about this in depth since like the very first episode this podcast ever had, but Shannon Ford's podcast literally like took me out of a very like dark space for a while when I started listening to it after my long-term relationship. And it was like really brought me a lot of like perspective on like being single, being able to be fun and not miserable. And like, cause her first episode, she like backstory had a podcast with someone else for a while that was pretty popular, and then they quit it. And she decided to go on her own and was very scared to do that. And then like her 4-year relationship ended, and she put out this episode that was like, I think it was called like Magic Eraser My Life or something like that, where she was just like, I just wiped everything, like we had to move out and like I had to start over, and then I'd do this podcast with myself and like all this stuff like that was just seemed super scary and overwhelming. And she was just talking about it, and it was so like comforting to me in a time frame when when you're like the kind of sad over a breakup where I'm like, I can't listen to music because if it's happy music it pisses me off, if it's sad music I get too sad. Like, so I was trying to listen to podcasts, and it's like one of the only things that was making me laugh. Then I sent the podcast to my friend Chelsea that was going through a divorce, and she like, it was the same thing for her. Like, she's a huge fan of it. She was like, it was like one of the only things that could make her laugh through it and like not be scared about like starting over dating and stuff. And so that like really was like a big thing for me. And then she had this fucking whirlwind story of meeting this dude, and like I actually was like inspired by that too, because there's a TV show that I think me and Justine were telling you about, Nobody Wants This, that's the girls podcast, similar to this type of podcast, even just like about dating, and like her fear is always being like, oh, is like a guy gonna be scared to date me, or like are his parents gonna like me and stuff like that. And I remember Shannon talking about that stuff too, and then she just met this guy that just like was like, I like that about you and I don't care. And and it was really like inspiring to me about being like, I don't have to be so negative about dating or about being single. And so it was so full circle to get to like do all that stuff with her now. Like, that's like what feels recently is like to come back around and be able to do those shows with her and like tell her about that. And I actually was, the reason why I say that is because I met my boyfriend's mom this other weekend. She came to our Responsibly Unhinged show actually, which is insane to me, within 24 hours of us meeting. And then she came to another show on Sunday night as well. And I was like so nervous about it because it was the same thing where I'm just like, I just met this person, and it's like, I don't want them to like be like, okay, like she's gonna be talking about my boy like that and all this stuff. And like I actually sent Shannon a voice memo on Instagram, and I was like, hey, I just wanted to tell you, like, I was kind of freaking out about this, like, and I just like thought back to your podcast about when you were like, you know what, like I have who I am on stage or who I am on the podcast is me, but it's also like, it's still not like, it's not all of me. Yeah, it's not all of me. And she was like, I'm not going to go talk about the stuff I'm talking about on my podcast to your mom. Like, you know what I mean? Unless she asks, which, and it's like, I just like really thought about that, and like how now she's like married to that guy that was like, I don't care. And like, I remember her being mortified because like they met, and then he like told her, he's like, well, I went and listened to your latest podcast episode since you told me you had one. And her like last one before she met him was like this unhinged fucking one night stand story. And she was like mortified that he was going to like view her like that. And he was just like, you're hilarious. Like, and now they're married and pregnant. Like, and I was just thinking about that, and I sent her a voice memo, and I was like, I was so freaked out about my boyfriend's mom coming to the show and stuff. And like, she like voice memoed me back, and she was like, dude, no, I think about that all the time. She's like, and I just had to like tell myself, like, if my parents still love me, if my friends still love me, like, why wouldn't they? And she was like, if I can get a posh ass man's British family to be fine with my humor, you're fine. Like, and it was just like really sweet to have that. So it's like, the podcast wasn't recent, but that like still recently comes back up as like something that impacted me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I was like on a little bit of spiral. I was like pissed off at him that he was going to bring his mom. And then, and like, to her point, his mom, no, she was visiting from New Hampshire. And so it was like, just like a very comforting thing to like have remembered that's how that went for her. And like, also like to Justine's point, like we talked about that, she was like, if he was going to be impacted by it being a problem for her, then that's not the person for you anyways. And that's kind of like the mentality I had to have about it. And then that's exactly how the conversation with him went. He was just like, yeah, I like this stuff about you, and she will too. And if she doesn't, she's not the one dating you. So, and it was cool. So shout out Shannon. And that was pretty cool. I love that. Yeah. Have you listened or read anything that had an impact on you lately? No.
I don't read, but
no, you just have the book upside down at Barton Springs to pretend.
No, Yeah, no. I did listen to something recently.
Oh,
Or just like in
Mel
the
Robbins.
huh?
Was it the Mel Robbins thing?
What?
Was that what you listened to? Were we talking about that, Mel Robbins?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Anyways, never mind.
I was listening to this thing recently about like I forget what I was listening to it on. I think I was just like getting ready and it like showed up, but it was just the profoundness of loneliness. Where it was just like I was thinking in my life, although I don't know, like not in a way that I was just like down on myself, but it's like I haven't had a boyfriend or anything similar to a boyfriend in like 3.5 years.
Same. Well,
And like no real talking stages, like nothing beyond like we hook up every once in a while type thing, and consistently send each other memes. And it's like I was kind of in my head about that a little bit. But I listened to this podcast of like kind of this butterfly effect type thing of this guy. He was saying how he, you know, had all the success in his career, but in like the closest friends, and he like launched his business and was looking around the room at like he was bummed because he didn't have like a wife or whatever, and he has like all the success, and like he was looking around the room at like all of these true friends he's created and all these people he like trusted to like have like this huge event, and they showed up and they were happy for him. It wasn't like the like kind of thing where like you have success and like the people around you are like like he had met all these people along the way that he's like, I don't doubt my character. If this is the success I'm having and these are the friendships I've built, that's not lonely. And it was this craziest thing where he was when he was like leaving his like event, this girl had come up to him that he had talked to 2 years before at like a networking event. And it was just one of those where he was like remembered having like such a good conversation with her, and she had a wedding ring on. So he's like, I'm just going to be so, you know, respectful. But he was like, I always, when I would go on dates, I would think of this girl because like she was just very quick. She was very fun to be around. So they're talking, and she was like, I'm actually in town. She goes, I hope you don't mind I'm crashing your party. So-and-so was here and invited me. And he was going, I didn't realize you knew each other. And she wasn't wearing the wedding ring. And so he's like, I'm going to shoot my shot, and I'm just going to ask her on this date. And turns out he like asked, he was like, oh, I don't want to be forward, but like you had a wedding ring on the last time I saw you. And she goes, yeah, I always wear a wedding ring to the conferences because I don't want the guys there to hit on me. She's never married.
That's incredible.
And so they're I guess they're like together now, but like
That's wild.
But he was thinking about the all of the things that had happened, like that he were taking all of his time to like launch his career. That if he had asked her on a date and say they had been together the whole time, he's like, I don't think I would have launched my business. I don't think I would have met her at my business launch party.
Right.
Because he goes, I probably would have married her. And but he was like, but it was like just that thing, like that one little thing that like you had to focus or so it's like this because he's like along this I've never been lonely, and the timing was never right. And it was like one of those cool things, like when I look around at my life, it's like all these cool things happening for me, all these people that I love and they love me, that it's like it does scare me that if I were to have been in a relationship this entire time, like would any of this stuff be happening for me?
Yeah, and it's like,
but I guess I shouldn't tell you that because the last time I said something similar to that on a podcast, she broke up with her boyfriend.
No, I feel good about it. It's like I said, I was like, I get more focused, but it's true. It depends on the type of person. Like I said, you never really know. And I think like everything, I'm a big butterfly effect person. And I think like, you know, it's, who knows, this could end up not going well for me, or it could
my
mess
last
up my
boyfriend was
career.
not supportive of
Yeah. So it's like, I think it depends.
If you can even call him a boyfriend.
My thing is like, even if it does, I don't think it will because it hasn't. But even if it were to derail some of that, like I really
don't think it will.
I don't either. But even hypothetically, something I was talking to Justine about is like the healing of this, of just being like, oh, this is just like how I'm supposed to be treated. Mm-hmm. I needed that, I think, to also because I think that's actually very like vulnerable way going to impact my stand up too, because part of my, you know, issue that like I go through with my mom and everything is always being like, I don't see myself the way other people see me. And to have somebody like reflecting that at me like that intimately is very like useful to me. And to be able to like just like set that standard higher, like, you know, you guys have watched me put up with how much bullshit from little
Got
fucks.
that shelter dog
Yeah,
shit, you know?
yeah, and it's like now that's like kind of what I was talking about. I was like, if we break up tomorrow, I'm gonna go into dating differently now, because now I like have my bar's not in hell quite so much, like, and so it's like, oh, like the amount of things that this like man is surprised by, that whenever I'm like, oh, no one's ever taken me to do this, or I haven't done this, or like the like just little shit like that, and just being like even like just opening doors, and I was like, wow.
What the fuck?
Like, and he's like, are you serious? Like, and I'm just like, well, you know, I don't know. And so I think like even just
He
being
just
able
like
to take
opens
that,
the door and you wait and you're like, oh, is that for me?
yeah, no, literally, like, well, my mom actually was telling me a funny story the other day, which I love. They've been my mom and her now husband have been together like I think going on 18 years or something
We
like
love
that.
him.
We do. Scott's the best. And they were telling a story, which they were having like kind of a bickery day whenever I brought Peter there and they met. But like what I do love about them is they've been together long and they're still like really cute. But she was talking about how like just that day, even while they were like arguing, that she like went to go get her own car door and he like smacked her hand away. He was like, do not. Like, and I was just like, that's like so far in to still be like that. And I was like, that was just something that I was like, oh, like I'm not gonna have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, even if like that goes nowhere in like the relationship, or like for some reason it were to take my stand up, but I actually think that the confidence it's giving me of being like, oh, like I forgot that my brain hasn't fully reprogrammed from some fucker telling me I was unlovable for 5 years.
Yeah.
That like reminding myself like I am and I am capable. And it's like, you know, it doesn't hurt that he tells me I'm funny all the time. So
Yeah.
and I'm like, you know, I was like my ex literally told me I was boring and unfunny and to never try stand up. So it's a nice like shift, which although I am heavily motivated by Spikes, I did start doing stand up because of that. But
spiteful.
yeah, so it's good. Anyways, now I'm going to go throw up now about everything I just said. But we are approaching an hour. You got anything else you want to chat about?
No.
No? All right. Well, this was fun. I feel like it's just a little chat in the girls' room. I feel like we're just doing our own little catch up here. And
I know. Oh, can I do a plug I can clip?
yes. For the show?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
One thing about me, aside from having an incredible rack and being mostly unlovable, I'm also headlining the Velveeta Room on June 13th. I'm having some of the sassiest little stinkers in Austin drop in and do some time, and it's really an honor to be able to say, to headline and to say these people are my friends. Some of them, you know, are way funnier than me, and I'm thrilled they're willing to do this. So June 13th, 10 p.m., Velveeta Room. Me and Pat Dean are going to wrestle to the death at the end. So could be Velveeta's last show. So go ahead and come on out.
I love it. I'm excited. I'm excited to do the show. I can't wait. I'm so proud of you that you get to do it, and I'm, you know, very happy we get to do it in the Pat Dean Room. So, you know.
And another thing, if you missed the last Responsibly Unhinged live show, which, hey, happens. Traffic is a bitch. We're doing it again on August 22nd.
We are, yes. Pat Dean, we cannot say if he was held against his will to make that decision or not, but we are doing the show.
Yeah.
And
So,
if any other comedians come up missing for us to have an earlier date, that was unrelated.
never even
So-
heard of them.
But yes, August 22nd, we are appreciative of him wanting us to do that again. We literally had so much fun, and we will obviously both be on that show, and I'm very excited to be on Quinn's headlining show on June 13th, and it's going to be so much fun, and you're going to fucking kill it, and I'm so proud of you. And
Except I keep getting drunk and asking people if they want to do it. So it's like,
yeah, you got to stop doing that.
I'm scared I'm going to do like 3 minutes. I have so many friends, and I have like so many people who have booked me or like been there for me that I'm like, I get drunk and I'm like,
Well, you see, the thing is, you're going to do so well, it's not going to be the only one, so you can put them up later.
here's to hoping.
Yeah, it's true. And, you know, they won't mind that I'm going to be doing my 30, so. No, I'm super excited. I'm excited to see who's all on the show. I don't even know. You asked me forever ago, and I feel honored that I know you weren't drunk, so.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited. June 13th, do not forget that date. That's a Friday, right?
Yep.
It's a Friday. I think the 22nd is going to be a Friday as well.
Think so.
I think so. So, and I think it's also 10 p.m. We like that 10 p.m. slot.
I love that 10 p.m. slot.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot ever get that drunk again. A la fuck you. And I love you, by the way, bartender at the Bell. Beautiful,
the
beautiful,
best.
sweet man. But heavy pour on that man.
Yeah, you got that wrist disorder, dog.
the wrist disorder. And also we sat up, so we did like a panel for the show, so I sat up there the whole time, and it was one of those like I was fine, and then I stood up, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I have a very hard, like, I'd have 2 drinks before a show kind of rule normally, and that was 2 drinks felt like 7. So
Yeah.
that was a time. But come out for those dates. Like, please come see Quinn on June 13th. Come back and see us on August 22nd.
It's Friday the 13th.
Yeah, that's so perfect. I mean, your
Holy
tattoo set that up. But and the next New Faces is June 21st. So
Okay, work.
come check out those shows. Come see us live and keep listening to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Leave us reviews and be sure to check out letsselly.com and get your own conversation starter pack with code unhinged for 20% off. We'll see y'all next time.
Hell yeah.